Humans are complex with multiple layers and characteristics that combine to form a whole that is often difficult to define. However, discrimination, the unjust treatment of individuals on the grounds of ethnicity, age, gender, sexual orientation or disability status, is an injustice that reduces these complex factors to singular traits that are deemed undesirable, pushing its victims to the fringes of society, often with no way to advocate for themselves. What happens when something you can't change about yourself is deemed by others to be undesirable?
Njua niko na upofu. Kama ni size 1, kama ni size 2, nina seti. Alafu naanza kuweka usi na unai.
This is a story of what occurs when someone's identity becomes the basis for negative, even hurtful sentiments that are then enforced by society, effectively barring them from the right to a dignified life.
Ukishaitwa Mohammed, tayari wewe ni culprit nje.
Mahali nimekaa, watu hawezi kukaa pamoja na hawezi kunikaribia.
Discrimination comes in many forms. For some, it is the daily struggle to be seen as equal and deserving of the same rights. For others, it is the feeling of being trapped in a cycle of prejudice that is hard to break out of.
We used to be told if you're HIV positive, you're not supposed to give birth. That is why they sterilized us.
These headlines are only the tip of the iceberg. Behind them are lives defined by a constant fight for dignity.
People learn prejudice and discrimination. These are learned. Nobody is born knowing which gender to look down upon, but they are taught.
While "We the People of Kenya" is the opening line of the preamble to the Constitution of Kenya, the reality in the society we live in is there are many who are left out due to a variety of systemic issues. And for these people, the weight of discrimination is a burden they carry in silence. What lies beneath is the untold story of those whose rights are denied, whose humanity is questioned, and whose worth is overlooked. In Kilungu, Makueni, Eastern Kenya, just 110 kilometers from the country's capital, Nairobi, is where the hills rise endlessly and the land whispers of simplicity, just like any other rural village in Kenya. Tucked within this winding hill is Peninah Kilunja, whose life is anything but simple.
Siendangi kwa njua. Hata kama nataka chakula kwa njua ninavumilia. Yaani kama nataka chakula kutoka kwa shamba, ninasema hapana. Sitaenda na hiyo njua.
Her skin carries flecks of black melanin. Her eyelashes, pale as if covered by dust, shield eyes that have learned to look away from the stares of others.
Kwa kupitia mimbile yangu, nilikuwa na shida ya kukaa na watu kwa wengi, yani kwa wingi wa watu, kwa sababu watu wanakaa wakiniongoza. Nikienda mahali kuna watu wanasonga songa. Kwa sababu wananiona mimi si mtu wa kawaida.
Peninah's skin condition is a mystery that elicits fear and superstition. Her condition is genetic, but the fact that she looks so different from everyone in her community means that she is often isolated.
Ni kitu inafanyika kutoka niwe mtoto mdogo kabla ya kwenda shule. Nilikuwa wakati mwingine nikidhulumiwa na watu na kupigwa na kuvuta hata nywele. Nikiitwa kama mzungu.
While some societies have come to recognize people with albinism as they truly are, whole, vibrant and human, there are still places where their existence is seen as an anomaly. Now, at 60 years of age, Peninah has learned to take her condition in stride, but she is still aware of how she is seen by those around her. She, however, loves to sew. It is her quiet refuge. It is not just a skill, but a part of her.
Ninaenjoy sana hii kazi yangu. Hii kitambaa nilishona mwaka wa 1987. Na nilifunzwa kushona hii kitambaa na sister wa Consolata kutoka upande wa Italy. Na akatuambia tutie bidii. Tushone nyingi ikujiwe na Wahindi kutoka kaunti ya Nairobi.
This is the sewing machine the Catholic sisters gifted her soon after she dropped out of school after her certificate of primary education CPE. While she has trained other women to sew, she has had to deal with insults and other forms of humiliation.
Mtu anakuja ananiuliza, unaweza kunifunza? Mimi ninakubali. Lakini nikianza kumfunza, ananiambia ataniletea pesa. Saa ingine ananiletea pesa kidogo. Saa ingine ananiletea chakula. Na ninaendelea na maisha yakiwa magumu.
Despite her formal training and the valuable skills she brings, Peninah finds that society only sees her as a poor, uneducated widow with a disability. All these labels she carries like an invisible weight has come to shape every interaction she has, a reminder of every opportunity she has been denied, all reinforcing the layers of discrimination she faces daily.
Kazi yangu ni mzuri sana. Lakini nikishona fulana na nikipeleka pale kwa soko, watu hawezi kuninunulia. Wanaongoza kunikaribia.
Peninah's story is not unique. It is the daily reality for millions facing a similar existence, a lens that magnifies the intolerance caused by multiple factors such as poverty, disability, gender, age, ethnicity, and even religion, which converge to create barriers that seem insurmountable.
Because in certain areas we've been to, I think this was Nakuru County, we had people speak of, we had floods affecting us, but it's only a certain area where people got support because we were told our votes as Jai Gorogoro.
Zaina Kombo has interacted with communities across Kenya as an equality and non-discrimination campaign manager at Amnesty International Kenya. One worrying trend, she says, is the normalization of such biases and discrimination in the country.
We really have to dig deep and see this as a national issue, as something that threatens not just individual families or individual beings, but also our cohesion as a country.
A report by Amnesty International Kenya, published in November 2023, identified persons living in poverty, the youth, persons with disabilities, and the elderly as being the most vulnerable and least protected against discrimination in the country.
When we start profiling each other in those boxes of the various identities that we have other than a human being, then we start feeling, we start feeling entitled over the rest of us. And that's dangerous because, for instance, when you have high crime rates, and this is also connected to, I could dare say, extremism. Because the moment you're rejected by your family, you're rejected by your community, you start looking for those groups that will give you a sense of belonging.
For vulnerable individuals, the consequences can be far-reaching, especially when their fear of being targeted becomes ingrained in their daily life.
A lot of time nilikuwa natumia jina za mtaa. Unafaa una jina at least zile za mtaa unapewa kama Foaya. Unaitwa nani? Naitwa Foaya. Time utajua jina yangu labda ni time umeinteract na mimi sana, ndio kama naitwa Mohammed Malicha. But time mingi unapata natumia jina Foaya kama one of the survival of the identification, because time mob nilikuwa na feel jina zetu zinafanya na identification yetu inakuwa a lot of questions.
Mohammed Malicha knows what it means to bear a Muslim name in Kenya and look like what society has often described as an outsider.
Wanawakilisha Kenya in Commonwealth Youth Games. Ilikuwa 2008 Pune, ilikuwa India. And then nakumbuka hiyo time ilikuwa the team supposed to travel, and then ikakuwa mimi baki, but team ikaweza kubaki, and then nikapelekwa vetting ndio niweze kupata passport hiyo time. Nikadanganya house 7th floor. Nikapata ni sisi wote, lakini nikapata ni mimi peke yangu. but nilikuwa that cautious sana, nikauliza kwa nini mimi peke yangu niko hapa? Nikaambiwa wewe sababu ya jina yako. Ikunifurahisha because you know time nilianza kurealize tuko equal wote.
This experience was just the beginning of what was to be a continuous struggle for Malicha to be seen as just an ordinary Kenyan citizen. When he turned 18 years, the situation was the same.
Mimi nikienda nikaambiwa utaenda vetting. Nikauliza nenda aje vetting na niko na passport. Because yote niko na confidence na shindwa naenda vetting, nishaienda. Process yao ilikuwa very simple and clear because at least walikuwa na idea wazazi na mimi niko na idea wazazi. Niko na documents za shule. Niko na baadhi ya mzazi wangu, niko na baadhi yangu, niko na idea ya mom na dad, everything. And then bado mimi nilienda vetting.
While all this happened almost 16 years ago, nothing much has changed regarding what the society sees him as, especially in Kenya, where previous Al-Shabaab attacks have always seemingly kept the country on its toes.
Kwa sana nikitravel Garissa kuna shughuli kunafanya more like trainings za resilience, more like resilient conflict, and then iko some of the friends and colleagues, but tuko kwa Nissan tuna travel. But nakumbuka at the same time bado nikisimamishango hapo hiyo border ya Garissa na Tana River, hiyo nini hapo hiyo bridge, na kwa bado mmoja alini identify kama wewe kuna kitambulisho. And then bado unapata wao wote wakushuka kwa hiyo Nissan, lakini mimi nakumbuka nilishuka nikapeana kitambulisho.
According to Malicha, the root of the issue lies in how Muslims or anyone who looks like him are profiled. While names and identities are meant to provide a sense of belonging for people like him, they become weapons used against them. Instead of symbolizing heritage and identity, his name became a reason for suspicion, a justification for unequal treatment.
Watembea kwa street and then hiyo time watu wanarealize watu wanaanza kuita walalo waria. Hapo nilianza kuleta noma. Because ilikuwa ni more like a conflict because niko naambia hiyo mi boss hata ile kivenye mimi najijua uwezi niita hivyo. Akaniambia unajua tunaona kila mtu anakaa nyinyi ni waria. Nikamwambia kwa hivyo sisi wote tunakaa waria. Kwa hivyo sisi wote wenye tunakaa ukiona mtu mweupe ana ndevu ni waria. Nikamwambia sisi wote si waria.
The term walalo, derived from walal, the Somali word for sibling, is commonly used to refer to Somalis in Kenya. For those who bear no origin or connection with Somalis in any way, the term can be derogatory, especially when used by non-Somalis. Words like this can be innocuous, not meant to be harmful or offensive, but they often acquire a dismissive undertone.
Waria ni different, ni tribe. Ni wenzetu na tuko nao kwa hii society, but huwezi muita pia waria. Because the only thing unaweza niambia ujui jina yangu niite we boss ama ni aje mjamaa, jina tu yoyote unaweza ita mwenzako niite mimi.
This kind of profiling has led to the targeting of Muslims, and it continues to do so today.
Sasa tunaambiwa ikisha kuwa Hassan Abdi, then it becomes sasa ule ni mtu ambaye anataka kuchunguzwa bila kujali kwamba huyu mtu alizaliwa wapi. That now doesn't matter anymore.
Ile ukianzisha jina Alima, Mafatuma, Malima inakuwa ni kero. Unaambo uende ukate ID Northeastern ama Garissa huko.
It is especially evident where there is a visible signifier of identity, and any stereotypes linked to that identity reveal just how entrenched the bias is.
The government of the Republic of Kenya. Kwanza wewe unatoka wapi? Who are you representing? Because if you are representing Al-Shabaab, I will not answer you. Which TV station? NTV. NTV. Yes, NTV is a good station, so I will answer you.
This is a country that has diversity of religion, culture, and ethnicity, and for us to be treated like this is very unfair.
But beyond all the discrimination and profiling that comes from bearing the name Mohammed or looking different, Malicha asks that someone's name alone should not be used to presume their entire identity.
Some of the names ilikuwa ina come out Al-Shabaab si Waislamu, ni watu wameslimika lakini jina zao unapata si jina zetu. Unapata kuna jina yake anaitwa maybe Kelvin somewhere Mutiso ama Kamau. Aufai tu ni haras mimi peke yangu niko na jina ya Kiislamu. Sisi wote Kenya tunafaa tukue culprit, because if Kenya imekuwa attacked, itakuwa attacked by mimi but ama mwenye anatumia jina ya Kiislamu, but anyone anaweza kuwa anataki nchi.
Article 27 of the Constitution of Kenya guarantees equality and freedom from discrimination. It explicitly states that the state or any person shall not directly or indirectly discriminate against anyone on the grounds that include race, sex, pregnancy, marital status, health status, ethnic or social origin, color, age, disability, religion, conscience, belief, culture, dress, language, or birth. Additionally, Kenya is also a signatory to several international human rights treaties, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, as well as the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, among others. Still, discrimination remains pervasive across in Kenya, impacting access to education, employment, and other essential services for many. Stories like Malicha's and Peninah's are evidence of the suffering that many Kenyans regularly go through when biases based on who they are, what they believe in, and where they are from are used against them.
I tried to vie for MCA at my rural place. Na wakaniambia they think I am not ready for it. One, they gave a reason of my age is young. 2, I'm not married. 3, I don't have a house yet.
Kwangu nakumbuka kuna wakati moja ndugu yangu alifariki. Wakati ile ndugu yangu alifariki hawakuweza kunijumulisha katika vikao ama kunijulisha haraka juu waliona kama sina kitu.
When we were young, we were not so much well off at home. And when we went to school, there was a teacher who really discriminated me because of my family background. She would even humiliate me in front of my fellow classmates. You know, at that time you are young, she's making other people laugh at you.
According to Dr. Benson Agaya, a sociologist, having laws against discrimination is not enough. The society needs to adhere to them.
Policing culture is a very difficult thing. You cannot police somebody's heart or attitude, because people learn prejudice and discrimination. These are learned. Nobody is born knowing which gender to look down upon, but they are taught through association. That is called, we call it in social sciences, social learning. There's a theory of social learning. If you associate with people who do not respect values and the law, there is likelihood that you will also begin to disregard the law.
But if the constitutional national values of human dignity, equity, social justice, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, non-discrimination and protection of the marginalized are anything to go by, Dr. Agaya says the normalization of discrimination in Kenya speaks volumes of how the country sees itself.
It's only on paper, but you don't see it manifested in our culture, in our attitudes, in our behavior. Different societies may do, communities in Kenya do, but at the national level, the overarching national values are not enacted.
According to the Discrimination Index released by Amnesty International Kenya in March 2024, that sheds light on the prevalent nature of discrimination in Kenyan society, social media platforms continue to serve as breeding grounds for harmful stereotypes and prejudices based on gender, sex, social and economic status.
And when you have discrimination starting at the family level, you can imagine it will always spread out to the community. Well, I'm not a psychologist, but there's always this thing that people say, childhood traumas that people project in adulthood.
What we spill out in social media, it originates from families, from communities, from the work world, from the political fields. And a lot of times this incendiary kind of language is built in the institutions of our society, in our workplaces, because the way you treat somebody because they don't belong to your community or your same background as a co-worker is what they will spill.
While discrimination often begins at home, Dr. Guy insists that social relearning is possible. This is one of the ways that the Kenyan society can understand what discrimination is and fully unpack its impact on individuals and communities.
Social learning can be reversed, and then you use institutions that are very powerful. One of the powerful institutions of learning is education system. What do we teach? What values do we uphold?
Many victims of discrimination never speak out, even though it affects their quality of life. Amnesty International's Zaina Kombo admits that there is need for sensitization to address the issue at the core.
We need to go down to the ground, not just with one meeting, but consistently speak about discrimination, make people aware that whatever they're going through, those who are being discriminated, whatever they're going through is not something normal, that they need to speak out against it. And those who are seeing others being discriminated, they should speak for them.
Both Peninah Kilunja and Mohammed Malicha have sort of developed a coping mechanism for all the discrimination they have gone through. For Peninah, every new day is an opportunity for her to sow some more and to hopefully earn enough to make ends meet. For Malicha, his outlet is through engaging his community in Mathare to resolve conflicts and build resilience.
Inasema watu wakae wakipendana, kwa sababu sisi zote tumeumbwa na mikono ya Mwenyezi Mungu.
Si rahisi as a young person you push because mo feel ni kama discrimination ni mimi na mimi ndio discrimination because nimeipitia.
Let's bring Article 27 to life, because Article 27 is more or less holistic. It speaks about almost 16 to 17 identities all in one article. So what we are saying is, let's bring all these scattered laws here and there. Let's bring them together into one piece of legislation that someone could easily access or go to, so that they know whatever type of discrimination I'm facing, either it will be Commission X that I can run to.
The struggle for equality and elimination of all forms of discrimination is not a matter of the law alone. So while Kenya has a powerful and progressive constitution, how can she move the needle forward on inclusion? For Peninah, Malicha and others whose lives are defined by the harms that discrimination enables, this actively means creating a space where everyone feels valued, respected, and empowered.